Should be surprised to learn, as we did today, that Mitt Romney pays about a 15% tax rate. What is surprising is that it's taking him so long to confront the reality that he has little choice but to release his tax returns. We're not there yet. Instead, Governor Romney is taking the drip, drip, drip approach. First he said he wouldn't release, then shifted to probably wouldn't, then another shift, then a pledge to release them sometime around April. And then today, without releasing any documents, the former Massachusetts governor added this.
It's probably closer to the 15% rate than anything, because my last 10 years, my income comes overwhelmingly from investments made in the past rather than ordinary income, or rather than earned annual income.
Now that puts Governor Romney on par with Warren Buffett and many other wealthy Americans who make their money on investments but don't get a traditional paycheck or a salary. It means, though, he pays a lower rate than many working Americans, even though his estimated net worth is between $100 million and $250 million. You can be sure now some of his Republican rivals and the Democrats in the Obama campaign will try to make hay out of that. The detailed tax returns could include other details that bring tough questions. And there's no law or campaign rule that forces the governor to make his returns public. But here's tonight's truth. His father long ago set the right example on this issue, and Governor Romney would be wise to follow it. Yes, back in 1967, Republican presidential candidate George Romney released 12 years' worth of tax returns. A move, if you read news accounts from the time, was described as unprecedented. Mitt Romney should follow his father's lead. The sooner, the better. But he would get and deserve some credit if he did that for transparency. So why wait? Why not even release 1 year's returns already? Maybe Team Romney is worried he can at times sound tone deaf, like this.
And then I get speaker's fees from time to time, but not very much.
Okay, now take a deep breath and a second. I'm going to give you a moment. You define not very much. Well, Governor Romney's most recent financial disclosure form showed $374,000 in speaking fees in just 1 year. On average, more than $40,000 a speech. Truth is, calling that not very much is, well, not very smart. Joining us now to weigh in on Romney's tax return dilemma and the campaign here in South Carolina, GOP political consultant Jim Dyke, Time Magazine political correspondent Joe Klein, and the Tea Party Patriots co-founder Beth Martin. Jenny, I want to start with you. Governor Romney's leading if you study the polls here right now. A lot of Tea Party activists have a little grumble about that on this particular issue of taxes. There's no law that says he has to do that. There's no rule that says he has to do this. Are there any voters out there for whom this is a relevant issue, or is this a media question?
Well, I haven't heard people in the Tea Party movement talking about it, but when you're running for president, there are certain things you need to know the answer to. What percentage taxes, how much eggs cost, how much milk is. I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise to him, and he needs to be able to answer it one way or the other, not flip-flopping.
As a smart guy who runs smart campaigns, what would you tell the governor about the drip, drip, drip approach?
Well, there's sort of two sides to this, interestingly enough. One is you need to be decisive, as I think Joe would say, and clear, and you want to show leadership. At the same time, may spend the last 3 days of the South Carolina primary talking about Governor Romney's taxes. I'm not sure it's going to move any votes.
But the South Carolina primaries, you don't think it'll move any votes?
No, I don't think people particularly care whether he
only on a subliminal level. Only on. I mean, the guy seems kind of shaky and equivocal. His answer last night during the debate on the tax returns was dreadful, and so I think that, you know, in a kind of second-hand way, it's like second-hand smoke. It creates the aura that's enveloping his campaign, and it may hurt him, especially since Newt Gingrich has seemed very forthright, with one major exception.
My question when things like this happen is he's a smart guy, Governor Romney. Whether you agree or disagree with his policies, he's a smart guy. He's got a seasoned and smart campaign team around him. So when they do something that doesn't seem to make sense, that prolongs a story, that trickles it out, it makes you wonder why.
Well, they're human.
Maybe they're more comfortable talking about whether he's going to release his tax records for the last 3 days of the South Carolina primary than all the other issues that may really impact how voter votes when they show up.
Well, there's a larger policy issue here, and that is, are they embarrassed about the fact that we taxed capital at a lower rate than we tax labor. Many Republicans believe that the investment is important to, encourage investment in that way, and that's the argument that Romney is going to have to make. It's a hard argument to make when you have $250 million in the bank.
Yeah. Everybody knows the tax code is a complete mess and needs to be reformed. The Obama administration that's had several chances at large reform and taken a total pass to take this on, I think it'd be a debate we'd be happy to have.
You mentioned the other potential issues. I want to play here a guy who did very well in Iowa, not so well in New Hampshire. Rick Santorum comes to South Carolina, a state where you would think, especially now that evangelical leaders, many, have said he's preferable to Governor Romney, preferable to others. He has an ad-up that raises against Governor Romney that raises some of those other issues. Let's listen.
Obama supported the Wall Street bailouts. So did Romney. Obama gave us radical Obamacare that was based on Romney care. Why would we ever vote for someone who's just like Obama when we can unite around Rick Santorum and beat Obama?
Jenny, that is aimed straight at a Tea Party voter. Bailouts, health care.
Right.
If Governor Romney wins South Carolina, what does it tell us about the strength of the Tea Party?
Well, even if he wins South Carolina, he's saying he's going to repeal the government-controlled health care at a federal level. He's talking about fiscal responsibility, so all of the candidates are talking about our issues. And he's going to have to be able to do this. This is part of the primary process. So I'm not surprised by the ad. I'm sure that Ron Paul and Gingrich folks feel like they should be going around their candidate as well.
Is there a sense of 2008 deja vu in the sense that Newt was suggesting today, well, it's up to them, but it sure would be nice if Perry and Santorum would get out. That you have three people essentially to Romney's right, like a Huckabee Fred Thompson effect like we had last time.
The interesting thing about this week is going to be to see whether the other two do drop out after the results on Saturday. This is the Super Bowl for the conservative anti-Romney candidate, and right now it's looking like it might be Newt.
That ad was about one thing, not about policy, but about electability. Rick Santorum is trying to make the electability argument, telling Newt to drop out electable. Newt's doing the same thing to Santorum. And the way this has happened in South Carolina, the law of unintended consequences, the beneficiary of all this, I think, is Mitt Romney.
And so if one person emerges from South Carolina, if that happens, and you lose two of the Perry, Gingrich, Santorum, is it too late? Is it too late? Does Romney then go into Florida, a state where money matters on TV? Then the calendar goes Arizona, he's in pretty good shape there. Nevada, he's in great shape. Michigan, he's in great shape. Is it too late?
Well, I think about the 1976 Republican race where Ronald Reagan got clobbered front end, and then he brought it to within, 15 or 20 delegates at the national convention. So, down the road, I think there are a lot more conservatives and Tea Party supporters in this party than there are kind of moderate, traditional Republicans.
We're going to love watching this one play out. Jim, Joe, Jenny, thanks. A few more days here in South Carolina, then we'll see where we go from here. Aaron Burnett out front, coming up at the top of the hour.